We got the haze effect on the camera.
Little haze effect, everybody. Purple haze.
Courtesy of Toucan.
yeah. Shout out Robin.
I gave you the signal.
This is the Here's the Deal podcast, the Max Baker Jr. story, and a special episode at that. To my right, Max Baker Jr., Dylan Baker, and Austin Baker.
The Baker boys.
We have the Baker brothers here, and as everybody can hear and can see, lay witness, 2 kids of Max Baker Jr. did survive. They made it. I know that's been a question in a lot of people's mind for a lot of years, that if it would actually happen, and it did successfully. So congratulations, Max.
Well, they're here.
The first time I met Austin was at the Other Side parking lot in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And you couldn't have been more than 4 years old, man.
That was the Rollins one, right?
Yeah.
That was the Rollins band? Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because that's pretty punk rock.
Yeah, that's the only time that I've ever seen Rollins, and the only time that I ever got to interview him, and it was in person. And that's the only time that I was ever nervous. I've interviewed everybody from Metallica to George Strait. Henry Rollins is an intimidating motherfucker because he is very, very intelligent,
right,
and very quick-witted and sharp with his tongue. And I was a college kid, maybe 21, and super intimidated.
Yeah,
damn.
But I mean, his words, his word tours are incredible.
Oh yeah,
He could have spoken word like crazy. He's really good when it comes to that. Shout out Henry Rollins.
So it blows me away, Austin. I pretty much watched you grow up with all the shows at the Zoo, the Canes, the Other Side. All the venues.
All the OGs.
But Dylan, I'm learning about all the shows that you got to go to through this podcast.
Oh yeah.
So the first one that I want to talk about is the Rolling Stones show at Owen Field.
Yeah.
He was 10.
Oh man. It went on forever. It was the longest show I've ever seen.
Damn.
And your dad says that you fell asleep during the show.
Yep.
Okay, so the real question is, do you still have Keith Richards' guitar pick?
He should have it. I hope he still has it, because that's when I fell asleep and I woke up during the show. I found that pick. It got chucked out, and I saw it fall on the ground. I said, "What the hell?" And I picked it up. And
That's awesome.
I handed it right to him. So yeah, that was cool. It was a cool show. Also, seeing that bridge come out from the stage,
because that was the Bridges to Babylon tour, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Remember them people that bought that merchandise in front of us?
Yeah.
Back then they didn't give you a bag, so they had to sit on it the whole night.
Right.
And left a bunch of it.
And the cool bootleg merch.
They forgot about it.
Yeah, the cool bootleg merch that they were selling outside of it too.
Austin, how many shows do you think you've seen before you were the age of 18, just because you were there with your dad?
Oh man, dude.
I mean, you saw more bands than most people by the age of 14.
All right, I'll say
then he grew up seeing them.
6,000. Probably at least 7. I'm gonna go there. Dad, probably 5,000. I mean, we gotta count the ICP shows, Jelly Roll, 3 Sip Mafia. I mean, bro, you just bring them.
All those Zoo Amphitheater shows.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's 6,000 or even 5,000.
Rock in America.
But I think he probably was at. If I did
Every diamond show.
125 shows a year, and he made half of them, which would be 60, and he's.
I mean, even the Flaming Lips, me and Wayne were kicking it in that 2006 show. Like, I cut my hand, he gave me some gaff tape. He was like, "Here, I'm Wayne from the Flaming Lips," and I was like, "Wow, these guys are pretty chill," and I kicked it with them all day. And then the AFI show, 2003, Chevy Event Center. Yep. I was just a kid, and I went up to Davey Havok, and I was like, "Hey, man,"
I took you to that. Yeah.
I was like, "Your arm sleeve is badass," and it was Nightmare on Elm Street. No, not Nightmare on Christmas. Yeah. I was like, "Bro, that is sick."
Yeah.
And man, that show was phenomenal. And that time he brought Avenged Sevenfold, 2005 with CKY. Yeah. I met Bam's brother. And I bought the CKY DVD, and that's where all my shenanigans came from.
That's where it all went wrong, there.
All the pranks,
shenanigans, for sure.
I remember you being a kid and setting up basically like a stage on the front porch.
Yeah.
And you had your own front porch concerts,
Yes.
as you were practicing your Gorfit stuff.
Yeah. OGs. I picked up the guitar. My band wouldn't be with me. I called them the tantrums, the Gorfits and the tantrums, because I'm always throwing fits. And so I just play, and people would come around. They'd give me money and stuff, and I would just play for the block. And like that's where my music started. It started very punk rock, do it yourself. Just like, let's just knock it out the ballpark.
On the porch, it's the one thing about it is there was always music in this house. Yep. And, that and wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, man. WWF, WCW, ECW.
Oh, but and it's,
It's a wonder you didn't get into promoting wrestling shows.
Yeah.
I thought about it, and that might be one avenue that I missed, but I got into being part of boxing, and things like that. And with these kids, I didn't have a book on how to raise a child, much less myself. We were just living. But the one thing that got to me, because I had many people tell me, you're not right by letting your kids go with you. You're not right, But then again, you got the flip. If you look at it today or any day, you look at it and it's like, okay, disrupt, a daycare. What happens there? Neighbors, what happens there? But what I do know by having those kids there and taking all the shit that I did for people saying it and doing it and hating on it, I knew exactly where they were. The other part about it is the cool part that I knew the most was if I played at the other side and there were 600 or 700 people, or if I played at the Diamond there was 900 people. The one thing that I knew about these two boys being with me is wherever they went in whatever venue, they were watched by the security, by even some of the patrons. They had more eyes on them than most people.
Shit.
And so, it just, and they did a lot of shit.
Yeah. So it seems like at times we were running the places. I remember when he was doing the Canes and that floor, the wooden floor, I think they took it out. But man,
they replaced it.
They replaced it.
Oh,
I used to skate on that thing, and bro, that had pop like a motherfucker. Like that was the best floor I've ever skated on.
It was very bouncy,
straight up. Besides the Diamond, you could power slide like a motherfucker on that floor. I love that feeling. Just skate or die, man.
How you survived the Ralph era of the Diamond, I'll never know. As much havoc as you caused, Austin, you're lucky. I got Ralph's wrath a few times.
But here's the thing.
Dylan that was out there picking up the CDs after.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Austin and Dylan and Ralph was he would bitch about him, but deep down inside he liked him because he was another guy watching out for him.
Yep.
Yeah, was that the guy at the bar?
Yeah.
A lot and
with a top hat.
Yeah. He always yell at me and shit because I was a little shithead. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was a shithead, but I made it through. My upbringing. Kids are wild. That's all I could say. The youth gone wild, like Skid Row said.
So, Dylan, what was it like having Max as a dad and constantly being around music?
Insane, I think, because I don't know, y'all were talking about choice music earlier. Growing up in that record store, man, I got to grow up a way that other kids didn't. So that was very.
Did he wake you up with vinyl too?
Yeah.
Okay, that's just one thing I wonder.
Yes, consistently. No, but having that record store, and learning music through him and through my way, I got to discover everything that I liked, and
I can't imagine
through all the records
just being there and picking out what you want to listen to at any given time.
Yep.
And this is before the internet.
But here was the other thing though. Me and their mothers didn't quite get along and everything, so it was a split, it was a divide and everything. And so one of the reasons why the other side was very important to me was I was able to, and plus with these kids, Dylan being one, had his pulse on the scene, talking about Hatebreed, talking about Avenged Sevenfold, talking about just bands of that
era.
Every Time I Die and everything. So, I've always had to look for a way. How do you get close to your children? How do you, what do you do in common? Most families do things that are in common. Mm-hmm. Well, I had a broken family, but I figured out, but I did shows of Hatebreed and Every Time I Die and what other ones were there that you went to?
Oh God, so many.
But this was the cool part about it is my son was in Tulsa and the other side was about 2 or 3 miles from where he lived, so he was able to be dropped off and spend time with his dad. Mm-hmm. Was it quality time? It depends on what you want to say. It was the only time I had, or did I go the other way and not even worry about it and blow it off like so many people do? Mm-hmm. I tried to keep that connection, and I did keep that connection, and I kept it through music, and I still keep it through music today, These boys are very dear to me, and like I said, I didn't have a book. I didn't have a manual. All I had was my heart.
Yep.
Austin, what was the biggest show that you saw with your dad?
Oh, man. He says that I saw Kiss Reunion.
You didn't. It was Dylan.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess one of them would be Kiss for sure, because there was this Kiss date I remember from 2003, and I was sleeping during Aerosmith, and Steven Tyler picks me up, and he hails me on stage, and that was just so memorable for me. I'll never forget that. There was also
Dallas Starplex. Jeff was with me.
So, we're talking big shows right now. Then there was that one we set up the floor for, 2019, or I think 20. It was Metallica. They were doing a boxing fight, and Max got to see that show, and he said it was badass.
Yeah, but here's the one that strikes out for me the most for you, and you were like kids in the playground that, was all the festivals that I did when we did casinos and you being there.
The Rocklahoma. Yeah, man. Rocklahoma. Hanging out with Chips Enough on the golf cart. That was something else. Getting hot dogs. I still have love for hot dogs to this day because of that. Me and Chips Enough just fucking raising hell at Rocklahoma 2007. That was crazy.
He was a kid, 10 years old, doing 80s shit. And
don't you get a hot dog everywhere you go?
But not only that, it wasn't just him. His cousins were there.
Everybody.
People who worked for me, his kids were there. It was they had a little gang before a gang.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell us the Bo Diddley teacher story.
Okay, so he brings Bo Diddley. And I guess I'm hanging out with Bo Diddley, and he gives me this little guitar. And he taught me the blues. And a lot of people think I'm making this up. And I'm not making it up. It really happened. The Legend of Blues taught me blues. And it's kind of like that Walk Hard moment when he gets taught the blues. But it actually really happened. Little Austin, Bo Diddley put me on his lap and was playing with me. And
that don't sound right.
Not like that. Playing guitar, teaching me how to play guitar. Bo Diddley was teaching me how to play guitar. I know that did not sound right. Thank you, Dad. But yes, he taught me how to play guitar at a young age, and I went to school the next day and told him about it, and they called my dad, and they were trying to suspend me over that. They thought I was making stories up, living in a fairy tale land.
True story.
Yeah.
I was like, dang.
Weren't they walking in the airport together?
Yeah, walking in the airport like he was his grandpa.
Yeah, I was this guy's cool.
And you're looking back at the late '90s, and it was still a different nation, but it was together.
So Dylan, did you have any of those moments where people tried to call bullshit on?
Yeah, I had a similar occurrence.
What about your Jack Black story? Did that happen too?
Oh, Tenacious D at the Coca-Cola?
Yes.
Yeah, I got to meet Jack
They called
Black,
him the D. He for somehow or another, he wasn't going to school or he'd been in trouble or whatever the case may be, but I was the runner for Tenacious D, and I roll up with Jeff with the kid in the car, the van. And so, Jeff's like, oh no, what are we going to do? I'm like, hey, he's going to get in the back. He's going to be quiet, and I'm going to be the runner. And so, the band gets in there, Jack Black and Kyle, they get in there, and I drive them to the hotel, and, they never acknowledged, they never said anything, nothing. So I'm thinking, drop them off, and I'm like, man, I got out of that one, So here we go for the rest of the day. And then got him back to the show. Then when it come time for the after, and when it was come time for the show, he's in the back, and they're like, "Hey kid, what's your name?" And he's like, "Dylan," and being real quiet. And then they drive on. We keep driving. Then the next thing you know, they're like, "Oh man, that's the D." And so we get to the show, and they ask him, "Are you going to be here after the show, the D?" And like, yeah. So then they decide they want to go to VZDs. I don't even think, what were you, 12, 13?
Yeah, roughly about, yeah.
He wasn't very old, 12, 13, teenager. And so, show's over. Whole different vibe. Hey, man, we're taking the D with us. Like, well, where are we going? Well, there's some kind of after party at this club called VZDs. We're all going. So we go there.
Which is where Trainwreck, Kyle Gauss's project, always
That
plays.
was the first time he'd ever went.
Okay.
So I know why he came back. So we go into this, into VCDs, and we're at the door, and the door guy goes, "No kids allowed, no kids allowed." And you're talking Jack Black and Kyle, and their tour manager and me, and they look at him. Jack Black looks at him and goes, "No D, no us." And so they let us in, and they're like, I tell Dylan, you stick to me, you be close. So all these other people are trying to give the kid beer. So, but
why didn't you get the pick of destiny?
They gave me a pick.
It just,
I still have one.
Situations like that turned out to be cool moments. Not only for myself, because I was able to work, bring my kid to work, and do a good job, but two, my son got to meet some superstars in a different gathering, and guess what? They turned out to be real people, because it could have went the whole other way.
Exactly. Yep.
They could have went in the jet and said, "No kids riding with us, new runner, new this, you're fired for the day." Just and being on both ends of the spectrum, I've been that, and hey, but
hey, tell the story about Dylan picking up those CDs out of the field.
So. Here's another one. The
Cold Chamber.
It was Cold Chamber, Seven Dust.
Cold Chamber, Seven Dust, was El Nino.
El Nino, yeah.
El Nino and
yeah.
Drowning Pool.
Yeah.
No, it was Drowning Pool and Cold Chamber.
Yeah.
So they had just started the tour. I think we were like the second or third date. And so they come in. Once again, my buddy that had the veteran, who was a bus driver who drove for Travis Meek, I got to see him in another kind of setting, getting off the bus, telling me, "Get me to the motel. This ain't happening. This tour's done for me." And as we're going there, he's telling the story about when we started in California on the bus, they had a big coffee can of methamphetamine. He said third day into the tour, they had none.
Oh my God.
And so, and it was getting crazy. Well, the night before, Dez and the whole band got in a big fight, and they left him.
Yeah.
And no, it was in Lubbock.
Yeah.
They left him in Lubbock. So, and I once again bring Dylan with me to work. And so this time though, when I took the guy, I left him and everything, and I'll never forget pulling back up to the place, and him coming around and going, "Hey Dad, I got you something." I said, "What?" He said, "I've been out walking out there in that field over there, and I've gathered up all these CDs." And what that happened was, once they got to the Diamond, they threw all of Dez's stuff out in the field. And so of his music or whatever. I mean, it's just a weird day. But then as the day went on, that was also the day where that one dude, the tour manager, just decided to go in an uproar, and he didn't like the Diamond stage, so one had to be tore out and another one had to be put.
Dude.
It was a day from hell is what it was. But basically...
Didn't you say that the band tried to negotiate a set with no vocalist so they could still get paid?
Yeah. I mean, we wasn't having that either, you know. But I mean, but this is the kind of stuff that, you know, that Dylan did. Can you think of any other ones?
Yeah, Dylan.
Yeah, but God, dude, where do I start?
Wherever.
Oh man,
Because I've seen Austin, you know, hanging out with every artist known to man, you know, over the years.
I was even at your birthday show. The
Yeah.
Seosin one? That
Yeah.
one was badass.
The crazy thing about Austin,
That was a great
you
show.
know,
Yeah,
was
really great.
either the bands liked the kid or they didn't. They want him in the office, you know. But you know, like bands like Gore. I mean, I walk back there and they're like, I got Lisa telling me, "Hey man, you need to come see what your son's doing."
Yeah, I was hanging out with Odorous.
and he's got one of their masks,
I was just pouring it up.
you
with
know,
Odorous.
and standing there, and they're allowing him to, you know, and then like the Misfits who took a liking to him and to where inspired him enough to name his band that.
Yeah,
you
shout
know?
out Gore, shout out the Misfits, Jerry Only. I still got mad love for you, bro. Thank you for letting me
You
open
know,
up
I mean,
for
and
you.
he's been able to play.
I've heard Jerry Only give you a shout out from stage.
Yeah, he really did. I mean,
Yeah.
he stopped the show in 2014 when Max had his broke leg, and he said, "Where's your dad at?" And he stopped, took a photo, took me on his bus. Like, we're cool like that. Like, he's the man. He's fucking punk rock.
Okay. Ask him if either one of them remembers when Slipknot pulled their shit.
oh man,
Yeah, do either one of you guys remember the Slipknot, the historic
Tower?
Slipknot show at the Tower?
No, the one where they called your dad out from stage.
No, yeah, the Myriad.
Yeah,
not the
the
Tower, the
Myriad,
Myriad.
Yeah, remember?
Yeah, I was at that one.
Yeah, both of y'all were.
The 2000 show with Mudvayne?
no,
No, wasn't
Okay,
with,
not
was
the
it
Pledge
with
of
Mudvayne
Allegiance
at the-
tour.
no, it wasn't that.
Okay.
That wasn't that,
Right
no.
before that.
Okay.
No, because
They were by
the
themselves, I
incident happened in January,
Yeah.
and then they came back, and it was on Easter Sunday.
Yeah, mhm.
And I went to the show, and both of them went
We
with
had to be
me.
real cool because they were not letting you in that place
You know,
whatsoever. You had to,
and it's like
Wow.
we talked to the band before that, and then we took the kids in. We're watching the show from the soundboard. We stood on the soundboard that night, and at some point they stopped the show, made everybody get down on their knees,
Damn.
and then when he said "yell it," they all stood up, about 3,500 of them, saying
Fuck Max
"Fuck
Baker."
Max Baker," kind of like that shirt.
Yeah, I remember it now. I remember it. It's kind of like, I remember
You
it
know,
was a chant.
I mean, and
What's that like? What's that like?
Dylan remembers it more, though.
I didn't know what to think because I liked the band, but damn, you know,
That's your dad.
Yeah.
Dead, Slipknot, fuck.
you know, I mean, it just there were hurtful things.
But
you
years
know?
later, we make money off of them. That's what's funny.
Well-
We're setting up a show for them later on in life, you know? Did one of the biggest shows they've ever done in Durant,
No, the smallest
Yeah,
show they'd ever
smallest.
done in 20 years.
Right.
which was legendary.
I mean,
Off the chain.
you know, it's life is a roller coaster. You know, this podcast right here is I didn't come this far to lose.
Yeah,
you
here's
know,
the
when
deal,
you had
dude.
two kids put into your hand, and basically, you know what, you either buck up or you shut up, and you know, and you do like most people do, and you look the other way.
Hey, ask about some road trips. 'Cause they've-
Yeah, what's the best road trip you've been on?
Oh, that one that
Riot
Alan was
Fest.
talking about. That was one of them.
Which one?
When we went to see Kiss 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
When the reunion.
That's pretty epic. How old were you at that time?
like 8,
10 or
9,
11.
9, 10, something.
I got a road trip for him. I got a couple
Riot
of them.
Fest one was good too.
Yeah, Riot
So-
Fest was funny.
Here's what I can say.
Except that bumblebee.
You know, as life came on later, and there were, you know, maybe I didn't do the Disneyland or working too much to save the family and, you know, give them good homes and good things to do. But I was blessed one time to where they wanted to go to, they kept telling me about this place called Riot Fest in Chicago. And so, I looked at it and I come across some money, and I was like, hey.
That was the first Misfits reunion, right?
No. I go, I'm going to take y'all to Riot Fest.
No, this was the year before the
first one,
Yeah,
and the reason why it had it had NWA,
Merle Haggard,
No Doubt, Merle Haggard,
Post
Echo
Malone.
and the Bunnymen,
Rancid
Post
was there,
Malone.
but this was before Post Malone made it big.
Right, he was a
when he
smaller
dropped
act.
White
Small
Iverson.
act,
But
Right
there was one guy there that out of all these two kids right here sitting with me that we all can relate to.
Yep.
And the guy's name is Yellow Wolf.
Yep, one of the best to do it. Wolf, if you're watching this, Slum America Made.
It's like my son, Dylan, here, in 2015, we were going to Dallas to see the Stones at AT&T. And he brought this CD called Love Story by Yellow Wolf. And he's like, hey, I want to call the music and I want to listen to this CD on the way down there. So, in my mind, and not being open-minded and, hating on rap and stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't even like Eminem.
So, and at the time I didn't, But, so we go down there and I'm doing it because it's my kid, my son, and, and so when we came back from seeing the Stones, the CD remained in my car. And then, just like I take it like how I decided when I wanted to work with the hippies, the CD stayed in my car, and it stayed for a long time. This Yellow Wolf CD stayed a whole summer.
True.
Everywhere I went, I had that CD. Kind of like Ryan Bingham. There's a few of them out there that mean that much to me. Him being one of them, Ryan Bingham, and Charlie Crockett. But, that's my playlist pretty much, my go-to stuff. But it enabled me to understand then, so I became a Yellow Wolf fan. Then they were able to come, and so we end up going to Riot Fest and seeing all these bands, I mean, it was
Social Distortion.
System of a Down.
So, but that was 1 year. The ones with NWA, Yellow Wolf, Faith No More.
Did we see Wu-Tang too?
Not that time.
Not that time.
So
next time.
So then I'm like, wow, man, this was such a cool experience. But the thing that I gathered out of all of it was a time for me to be with my children who had grown up, and I wanted them to know that it was all okay. So then we did another year. The other year had
Misfits.
one of the last shows Motorhead played.
Yeah, Hard P. Lemmy.
Anthrax.
He really threw down.
A System of a Down.
No
I mean,
doubt.
so I got two experiences. We do three, and
The
then
Flaming Lips were on it too, weren't
and
Yeah.
no three.
The Flaming Lips?
No, we didn't do the Lips. The third one was the original Misfits.
Yeah.
When they had
Danzig.
Social D, Rancid, all these bands that they love.
And they had these big pumpkins. Like,
It
was
was
crazy seeing
the cool
Misfits
part
on a
about
big
Riot
stage.
Fest was they had bands that I loved. But what it all mattered was it was all of us together.
So obviously your dad loves the Rolling Stones. Do you guys like the Rolling Stones too?
Personally, yeah, I do. I'm a Paint It Black era fan. More punk rock for them. I like it because it's just fucking in your face, man. And then you got to think, we live in a medical state. They really fought for the medical kind of in a way because they got busted in the 60s for that and was going to go away for medical marijuana, what was going to be medicine these days. So it's really crazy looking at that because people like them and Jimi Hendrix and all them, they fought for what these artists are doing these days. A lot of these recreational, whatever, drugs, as people would call them. But yeah, it's I love the Rolling Stones. I've seen them about
die on
7
them.
times. Yeah.
My
Sadly.
kids are still little and they hate the Rolling Stones because anytime they start throwing a fit, I start singing "You Can't Always Get Right."
Right.
Yeah, I
So
love
that's
that
what
song.
they associate the Rolling Stones with is them not getting their way.
But it's like
Does Dylan like Dylan?
Yeah, does
Bob
Dylan
Dylan?
like Bob Dylan?
Actually, yes. We went and saw him at the Civic Center. Yeah. No, I do like Bob
What
Dylan,
was
yes.
it like seeing Dylan for the first time, knowing that you were named after him?
I couldn't understand what the hell he was saying.
He said, "What was it like seeing Bob Dylan for the first time, knowing that that's kind of where your name came from?"
Really cool, especially to see it with my dad and how personal and just the vibe of that show was a vibe. It was really just unique. It was really cool. Especially at the Civic Center. Man, it was cool. Really cool.
Austin, I joke with your dad that, Dylan was named after Bob Dylan, and your name comes from that Blake Shelton song.
That's funny because I really want to do a remix to the Boys Round Here from Blake Shelton. The Boys Round Here.
Back to the Stones, Austin being younger and me having soul, raising him myself.
We even went to see him in a movie theater.
We seen him, in Indianapolis. Where else?
Indianapolis. Let's see. We traveled. We seen them 2 sets.
New Orleans.
Desert trip.
Yeah, so y'all went to New Orleans.
Yeah. Then desert trip. That was the best set.
Desert.
Neil Young was
seen
there.
him in the desert.
Yeah, it was Coachella where they do Coachella at,
Old
and
Cella.
it was just like
Old Cella.
Did you go to Paris too?
Paris.
No,
I didn't get to go to that. That was.
But
a
I can
different experience
I
for
can
him.
tell you a story about Austin, and he can validate it. So at the Roxy, they were having something right before we went to the desert. They were having a concert like an 80s concert at the Roxy next to the Rainbow, and I had this old black bus, and so I'm arguing with the driver Annabelle about where to park it. I knew where it was going to go. Well, we pull in off Hollywood, off of Sunset, and to park across from the Rainbow, and the bus
Caught fire like Steve Vais?
the bus stopped. It got stuck because it was too low for me to go over, and I told her to go, and it ended up there.
So it was your fault.
The cops came. Oh, it was all my fault.
Yes. Oh man, we were
the cops
stuck
came.
for hours.
The cops came. They weren't doing nothing about it. The dude that was next door that owned the tattoo shop, he was pissed. And so I'm standing out there, and, Austin, David Brown, and Annabelle can attest to this. And I'm standing there minding my own business, wondering how the hell I'm going to get this thing off. Going to have to call a wrecker or something. And I hear this yell, these dudes in the car, "Hey, Max, what's up?" So I wave and turn them around, not knowing who they are, what they are. And it was David Brown's friends, Dale James, a guy named Greg, like 4 of them. And so we push that bus. I mean, like, get it. That was the only chance I had. And we got that thing unstuck. We parked. Then they ended up only having 1 ticket. Annabelle and Austin walked the streets. Me and David went in and watched the show. And then after that, we rolled off to the desert.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was stuck at Sunset, and it was not good.
Wild adventures.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. It took a long time to get out. I was like, damn, this is surreal right now. I'll remember because Cali was something else. That was a crazy time, 2016 era.
Well, guys, I'm glad you both agreed to come on and do this. And your dad handled it well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did out of respect for Oklahoma music because, I looked at it like this is a very history thing. If Little Crybaby wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Max Baker. So, shout out the Here's the Deal podcast. For
literally
me and my brother
would not
on.
be here.
Yeah,
Actually,
like,
would
literally not making music if it wasn't. Yeah, like,
I mean, here's the
here's
deal.
the deal, dude. Tell 'em.
Here's the deal, children.
To get it, say it.
Yeah, but we really need both of you to say it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very honored that you guys are here. I'm very honored that we are able to still have a relationship that, and because some families don't. And I want you guys to know, no matter whatever the outcome's been, no matter whatever the deals have been done, I've done it with true love for you guys. I love you both with my heart more than ever. And all I've ever wanted for you guys to do is have the best you could awesome be, So for that, I love both of you.
Love you too, Dad.
Love you too,
Thank you.
Dad. Thanks.
All right, now let's hear your best Max Baker Jr. impersonation.
Here's the deal, dude. Yeah. Look here, dude. I'm not fucking around. You better clean that room up and you better do your homework.
God damn it.
Yeah. Damn it, dude. This room's a clusterfuck, dude. Clusterfuck. Like, that's just Max, man. You know, that's my dad. That's my father. I hear his voice in my head sometimes when I'm at the house.
We all do.
I'm like, he's my conscience. He's like, you know, you wouldn't do that, son. Bad decision.
Hey,
Now is that your father coming out
all
of you?
the way, dude.
absolutely.
It's hereditary. That's good to know.
It is absolutely hereditary.
Yeah,
Yes.
'cause
You realize you guys are going to sound just like that in a few years.
I catch myself a lot.
I catch
already.
myself yelling at his workers like that, and I'm like, gotta stop it. I'm not Max, guys. I'm Austin. You know, gotta remind myself I'm Austin. I'm the second one.
I mean, but the thing of it is, though, is deep down inside, we're one happy family.
Yes, this is what a beautiful family looks like.
Even though we're
America.
misfits.
Yes, an outcast. I grew up a screw up, like Biggie said.
That's it.